All right. So yes, today we're going to talk about factoring. We just made our nice little note card, right? We just made our nice little note card of our factoring steps. And so today, okay, let's review, and I would like you to write this in your notebooks. What's our difference of squares pattern? Okay, so essentially, I would like you to write down, this is the difference of squares setup. What would it look like over here? Okay, and then perfect square trinomials, what do those look like? Okay, because the more, you guys remember taking square roots? You guys remember taking square roots of numbers? Yeah, and the more we took square roots and the more we worked with those numbers, the easier it became, right? And so we're going to keep on working on what do these patterns look like? What do these patterns look like? Because then if you can start seeing the patterns, you guys know this in math. If you start seeing the patterns, it's much easier. It's much easier.
I thought this was already reading.
Huh?
I thought this was already reading.
Yeah, it was yesterday.
Oh.
Yeah. It's okay. Here we go, but it's kind of like a second review. Today's like a second review, okay? So thank you for writing these down in your notebooks, you guys. So the difference of squares pattern, once again, what's it gonna factor into?
A plus
Okay,
B.
plus and minus. And yeah, we're gonna have A plus B and
B minus A, or A minus.
A minus B. Exactly, okay? Notice that difference of squares. Some of you guys aren't writing. Difference of squares, the first term's always squared. It's a perfect square. This is a perfect square. It always has to be a minus. Now, someone different. Do we have this one? If we would expand that, what would it be?
Oh, it'd be 2a plus b times 2.
Okay.
Well, or like, yeah, you have to draw your rainbow. I don't remember what it's called. Yeah, it'd be like that.
And then we would FOIL, right?
Yeah.
So then what would we get?
Oh, yeah, a squared plus 2a. Wait. No, wait, what did you say? Oh, 2ab.
Why would it be
Oh.
2? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, never mind. And yeah. Oh, 2ab again, right? What? I'm confused now. Yeah, I'm confused.
Okay, A squared plus AB plus AB
Yeah.
plus
Yeah.
plus
B.
plus B
Oh, b.
Squared.
Oh.
And once again, our shortcut once again, if you have something squared, a binomial squared, it's the same symbol, square it the first term, square it the last term. Okay, and how you get your middle terms is you multiply these two and multiply by 2. Okay, now this one is just our minus, okay, so what's going to be negative in this one? No, what's going to be negative in this one? There's only one term that's going to be negative in this one.
-2.
Yeah, our middle term, okay? Because if we expand this, and I know this is tough to read, okay? What's our first term squared? A squared. What's our middle term going to be? Minus 2ab, because if you look, outside is going to be minus ab, inside is going to be minus ab, and then our last term, it's important to see, is what? Plus b squared. Do we have any questions up to here?
We already did this, right?
Yeah. So this is our difference of squares, and this is our perfect square trinomial. So you guys already know greatest common factor. We're going to get some more practice problems in dealing with factoring.
Should we get what?
No.
Just wait. Okay.
Okay. Because I would like all of these to go in your notes. Right now, let's write down this top one, please, in your notebook. And let's go through those steps of factoring. Okay? Let's go through those steps of factoring. So, Isabel, what's our first step of factoring again?
Divide both 1 by 6 and common.
Yeah, what's the greatest common factor? 3. I like that, okay? And then that 3 has to go in front. Dylan, what are we left with when we divide both of those by 3? I love that. Great job. Okay? Hunter. Okay, so our first step is greatest common factor. What's our second step of factoring?
Difference of squares.
Awesome. Is that the difference of squares in parentheses?
Watch out, divide by
Divide by what?
3.
We already did.
Hold on.
So what I'm trying to ask, Hunter, is this. Is this the difference of squares? Can someone help him out? How do we know if it's difference of squares? Yeah, if it has two terms, that's the first setup. Yeah, is this a perfect square? Yeah, is this a perfect square? Yeah, so then how many sets of parentheses do we draw? 2. Yeah, and let's just do this, okay? There's a reason why we're going over this. We're just trying to get more confident in our factoring. Okay, what's the square root of our first term? 2, very good. So we put our 2 there and there. What's our square root of our last term? Yes, okay. 3q. And then difference of squares doesn't have any what? Middle term. So how do we make sure it's no middle term? Plus and minus.
Wait,
Cool.
I didn't know if it's plus or minus.
Because there's only 2 terms.
Yeah. Do you see how this is a perfect square and this is a perfect square? And it doesn't have any middle term? Well, the reason why it doesn't have any middle term is because right here you get 4, right? And then right here you have minus 6q. Right here you get plus 6q. So the middle terms always cross out. The only way to make your middle terms cross out is to make one a plus and one a minus there. So some of you might want to write that down in your notes. Yeah, difference of squares, it's always 1 plus, 1 minus. Now, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves, but I would like you guys to factor that bottom one. Please, 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 though, make sure you follow your factoring steps. Because otherwise you won't get this right.
Can I use a whiteboard?
I would like you all to get these in your notes. Thank you for asking. You might want to write down, did you write down the steps?
No, I didn't see them. We're making corrections there.
Good first step. Way to go.
Slam, but keep the N.
Yep, but just make sure you put whatever number this is, put it in front, so put those in parentheses.
Put one in parentheses.
What's left over? So our factoring steps, just so everyone can get it in their note cards, is what? What's step 1? Yeah, greatest common factor. What goes into both of these? 4, great job. As I walked around, I saw a lot of people divide those by 4. And then in parentheses, we want to write down what's left over. Well, we're going to have what for our first term? N squared. And then we're going to have what for our second term? 4m squared. Very good. And then we always want to check, okay, did we take out everything we could? Well, did we take out everything greatest common factor wise? Yeah, okay, so the 4 is good. Okay, then second step is difference of squares. Is this a perfect square? This is a perfect square? Let's take the square root. Let's make sure we keep the 4 in front. We draw our 2 sets of parentheses. Square root of our first term. And an n. Difference of squares means our symbols have to be plus and minus. And this is going to be 2n. Very good. 2n.
It's a good thing in the rules they didn't put the minus sign that's in front of it in the square root, or it'd be 0 every time.
Good. Any questions, you guys? Thank you for writing these down. Okay, it's helping us muscle memory, all that good stuff. So then, as we already talked about, perfect trinomials, right? How we get this middle term is something we're going to be going over. Okay, so let's factor these. You guys don't have to write this one down if you don't want to, okay? Which one do you want to do, top or bottom? Because these, okay?
Bottom.
Most people said top, sorry, okay? Greatest common factor, do we have anything we can pull out of all of them?
Yeah.
Okay, is this different of squares? No, because it's how many terms? 3, so then we have to take the square root, we draw our 2 sets of parentheses. And what's our square root of our first one? 2n, very good. What's our square root of our last? 5. And because both of these are positive, both of these have to be positive. Now, how we check our middle term once again is just do the O and the I. So watch this. What's outside times outside? 10. What's our middle? 10. Is that going to give us our middle term? Therefore, that's a good answer. Okay? Because remember how we said that some of them could be prime? Because our middle term isn't the same? Okay? We want to make sure that we double check that. I would like you guys to do the bottom one. Just do the bottom one. And just go through your factoring steps.
Okay, so I get this, but I just don't get if we know if it's prime or not.
Then just do O and what is it? O and I. O and I. For check.
I'll go over that in a second. Let's take a look. Can we take anything out of all of them, you guys? No. So then it's not difference of squares because it's 3 terms. So we take the square root of the first and the last. What do we get for our first term?
3n.
3n. Very good. What do we get for our last term?
D.
D. And what are our symbols? How do you know they're both minus?
Because the middle terms are negative.
Yeah. Great job. Great job. Now, to check our middle term, because we have to start getting in the habit of doing that, we go outside times outside, which is what?
D squared. I can't, wait.
What's outside times outside?
That's, 3d.
3nd. Yeah, but it's a negative, right? Then, what's our middle term going to be? Of our inside times inside.
Negative 3.
So, that's not going to be 9, that's going to be what?
Negative
What?
6 and square.
Yeah, if you add the inverse here, you have negative 6nd.
Prime.
Is that right? No. So then you have to cross it out and just write prime. Does anyone have a question why it is prime?
So outside to outside.
Yep.
And then inside.
Outside, outside, inside, inside. Yep, you just got to check your middle terms. And
then
s-
add them.
And then you combine them. Mm-hmm.
What's prime mean?
Huh?
Nothing can be taken out.
Prime means like that doesn't work. Yeah, you can't factor anything out.
Oh, what about,
Like this one, would this one be prime if the middle term didn't check out? No, because what can you take out of all of them? 2 for sure, okay? And then you just finish it out, okay? Now, everyone please write down this top one. We'll do this top one together. It seems harder than what it looks like, promise, okay?
Which one?
Top one. So if we check this out, can we take anything out of all of them? No, okay? It's not the difference of squares, so what do we do then?
Square root.
Square root. And it's not as hard as you guys think. You see these 2 plus signs? What do we put here and here? Plus and plus. What's the square root of your first term?
X.
X. So we put x here and here. Now, what number times itself gives you 1/9?
9 over. Oh wait, nothing.
Isabel, if we can get these in your
1.
notebooks, that would be great. What number times itself equals 1/9?
9 over 1.
No.
1. Negative 1/9.
What number times itself equals 1/9?
We can't be the reciprocal because that would be 1.
1.
Write this out, please.
3,
Oh,
1 over 1/3.
what was this?
It's
I was gonna
1/3.
say that, but that's what
1/3.
No, it's not.
1/3.
Go.
1/3.
I'm gonna
Okay.
take my chance today.
If you have a fraction over here, you better have a fraction as a square root. Okay? Now, second thing, if we check our middle term, check this out. Outside times outside is going to be what?
1/3 x.
Plus 1/3 x. What's our inside times inside going to be? Plus 1/3 x. Is that going to give us our 2/3 x?
Yes.
Heck yes. That is your answer then.
I was gonna say 1/3, but I don't want to sound stupid.
They all say that.
You know what? Go away.
I sound stupid all the time.
No, in
Okay.
science class, I sit next to Caleb sometimes, and I sound really stupid, and I just want to die.
know they're recording you, right?
Yeah, okay.
What number goes into all of these?
8.
What does our first term always have to be?
It has to be positive. Negative.
So we have to divide everything by -4. Thank you for all getting this in your notebooks, okay? We always want our first term to be positive, otherwise you can't factor it. Proven fact. Okay? -16 divided by -4 is
Negative 4.
4w squared, okay? This is actually a -80, so that's going to turn to a
Positive.
positive 20w. Very good. And this is actually a -100, so a -100 divided by -4 is... Okay, I'm going to let you do the next step. Go for it. Hopefully this practice is helping you, okay? And I promise it is helping you if you guys are trying and learning from mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes. It's not okay not to try.
We're supposed to.
Well, what's your steps? Did we do greatest common factor? Well, first thing, you want to write it down. Cool. What's our next step?
Oh, so, wait, yeah. Wait, down.
Close. Okay. We went through our greatest common factor, right? Second thing is difference of squares. We don't have the difference of squares. So our third step then, perfect trinomial means we have to take the square root of the first and the last term. And so we're going to get -4. We draw our two sets of parentheses. What's the square root of our first term? 2w. What's our square root of our last term? 5. What do our two symbols have to be? Plus, okay? And then to check our middle term,
Or plusing.
what do we have here?
10W.
10w. What do we get for our inside?
10W.
Ladies, please don't talk when we're going over this, okay? Yes, and so then is that going to equal our 20w?
Yeah.
Perfect. So some of you guys get stuck once you get to here. This is our perfect trinomial. Take the square root of the first and the last, separate it into two parentheses. Okay? So let's check this one out. And it says solve. Solve. So everyone write this down in your notebooks, please. And keep this as a fraction. Now I don't think that's supposed to be a 2. I think that's supposed to be a 4. So let's make that a 4. Oh, never mind. I lied. Keep that as a 2. Keep that as a 2. Okay, so this one I would like you to put solve. Solve by factoring. Solve by factoring. And I'm going to explain what we do. And how it's not changing a whole lot.
Wait, this is new?
A little bit. Yep. One step is.
Okay, do you want us to register?
So put solve by factoring.
For step 4?
No. Okay. This is not a new factoring step. This is just a new thing. So I would like you right under, you write this, or right above what you wrote here. Put solve by factoring, because a couple of your problems are going to say that today. Solve by factoring. So obviously we're going to have to factor first in order to solve. Okay? So we're going to solve by factoring. And thank you for all getting this down. Now, to be able to solve by factoring, We want to do greatest common factor. We want to do difference of squares. We want to do perfect trinomial. But anytime you see a fraction, and is this a perfect square anyways? No. Remember how in previous chapters, we can multiply everything by something to get rid of that denominator. What can we multiply both sides of our equation by? 2. Please do that. And that simply means we're going to distribute a 2 to every single one of those terms. Because what we do on one side of our equation, we do the next. I'll do the hard side. 2 times 0, 0. That's going to stay the same. What's our first term going to change to, though? 4x squared. Very good. What's our middle term going to go to? Negative 20x. And what's our last term going to go to? 50 over 2, which is what?
50 over 4. 25.
Yeah, so let's just put 25. And the reason why that crosses out, once again, is 2 divided by 2 is 1.
Oh, you're tired.
We're multiplying everything by 2. Yep.
To get rid of the denominator.
Yep. And if it makes more sense to put 2 over 1, that's okay. Do we have any questions up to this point? Nada? Okay. Do we have anything we can factor out of all of these? No. Is this the difference of squares?
No.
No. So then, Hunter, what's our next step if it's not difference of squares? Which ones? Awesome. Okay. Then we need our 2 sets of parentheses. What is our first term going to be? 2x. What's our last term going to be? What are our symbols going to be? Why does it have to be minus?
Because the middle one.
Middle term. And once again, we can check. This is going to be negative 10x. This is going to be negative 10x, giving us negative 20 in the middle. So that's good. This, I'm not going to answer any questions until I'm done. This is our factoring. But right now it said solve. Do you guys remember what we had to do to solve?
In and out.
The thing. I know what you're talking about.
Plug in x for 0. No.
Set each factor to 0.
Yeah, then you
Because these are called our x-intercepts. And so then we would have to do what first?
add 5.
Yeah, please write this in your notebooks. This is how we solve. Yeah, we have to add 5. And then to get x, we have to do what?
Divide by 2.
Divide by 2. So you just found out that our x-intercept is what?
3.5.
Yeah, or 2.5. Are you going to get the same answer over here? Yeah.
So add 5
So when it says solve by factoring, the first thing you want to do is factor first. Factor first. And then you set your factors equal to 0. Set factors equal to 0 and solve for x.
So I think this 2.5 is the last, and is the answer.
Is the answer, exactly. You guys ready for another one of these?
Okay, what happened to your 2? How come you got rid of it? Because you distributed it?
Yeah, you multiply both sides by 2. Let's check. Let's check this one out. You don't have to write this one. Oh, yeah, you don't have to write this one down. But what is our first step of factoring again?
Raise pound back.
Okay, what can we take out of everything?
Negative 3.
Negative 3. So watch this then. We have a negative 3. We're going to be left with x squared. Then what?
Plus 6x.
Plus 6x. Then what?
Plus 9.
Okay, ladies, you're done talking. I need more guys to talk. Okay, what's our next step of factoring?
Distribute.
We don't distribute. Of factoring. Factoring
Difference of square.
is with 2 terms. So this is 3 terms. So then what do we do with 3 terms? Square root what?
The first and the last. That's what I said.
Hey, great. Great, Sass. I don't want you to talk. Okay? So very good. So if this one is going to be what, gentlemen?
Oh, x, 3, 3.
Dylan, what are the symbols?
Plus.
Thank you. Okay? And then Someone else got to answer. How do we solve?
Do the outsides.
We don't distribute.
No, you
Do you bring it
the two arrows down and then solve
Oh, yeah.
them to
and
zero.
then subtract 3?
Yeah, you just set them equal to 0. So we have to remember, we spent a whole day on this, you guys.
X equals
On solving.
-3.
Yeah,
Oh,
on solving. We just set the factors equal to 0, and you just found out that x equals -3. X would equal also -3 over here. Questions? Okay, the last one I would like you to get in your notebook is right here. And hopefully you can use your practice problem, okay? I'm going to give you a 30-second head start to see what you guys do. Ready, set, go.
Wait, can we do the whiteboards?
I would like you to do it in your notebook so you can refer to it when you have questions tonight. Does that make sense? Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, let's check it out. Let's check it out.
I didn't know what to multiply.
So, right now, can someone give me what they did for their first step?
Multiply by 3.
Wait,
No.
why by 3?
That won't help. Because that won't get rid of this.
Can you square root it?
Do you have to?
You have two options. Option 1, you can multiply everything by 36, because if you only multiply by 3, that wouldn't get rid of this.
Yeah, but they
Okay.
multiply by 36.
Wait,
No.
why'd you do the last one by 2?
Because the denominator is 2.
Yeah, but now you have 2 fractions.
So, the first way that I would say, just like Isabel said, I would just take the square root, because right now, can you take anything out of all of these?
No.
No. Second thing, it's not difference of squares because it's 3 terms. So then when you have 3 terms, your only thing that you know how to do is take the square root of the first and the last. Is this a perfect square?
Yeah.
Is this a perfect square?
Yes.
Yeah. And so then we should draw our 2 sets of parentheses. What's our square root of our first term?
X.
X. And if we have a negative middle term and a positive last term, what do both of these symbols have to be?
Minus.
Minus, minus. Very good. And then, think before you speak.
Wow.
Yeah. The square root of the first is 5. The square root of the bottom is 6. 5/6. And then the only thing we have to check is if that gives us our middle term. Well, negative 5/6x minus 5/6x would be negative 10/6x. Does that give you the same middle term? Yes, it does. So then, someone who hasn't helped me yet on this problem, what's our next step? Because that's not your answer.
Do the
You. Oh, wait, what?
Yeah, Dylan.
do the fuck me.
What do if we're solving, what do we have to do to these?
And don't you have to do
Hunter, help them out.
the x equals 0 part the
Thank you. We have to set our factors equal to 0. Is that what everyone was going to say? I hope so. Okay, now, if you have two of the same like this, you guys, you only have to write it down once. Okay, and then we would find out that our solution is 5/6, because we would have to add that to both sides. And once again, what is our solution called again? This is called a solution, but what else is it?
solution.
Thank you. It's called your x-intercept, okay? It's called your x-intercept. Do we have any questions on this? Nada. Okay, then you have almost 10 minutes, okay? You're going to have a quiz tomorrow. because we've been reviewing for the past 2 days. But what I would like to see is 26 through 62 even. I might check that out. Let's see here. 26, 28, 30, 2, 4, 6, 8, 40, 2, 4, 6, 8, 50, 2, 4, 6, 8, 60. We might have to pick up a little earlier. Can someone open up their books? Yes, this is out of our books.
Bring my book.
Again.
You're going to want to go get one. Okay, and if you don't have one in your locker, there's some in that cupboard on the left side.
I correct that one.
Okay, how about this? Let's do 26 through 56 every other even. Hey, let's do 26 through 62 every other even. And let's do 65 as well. Okay? So every other even means 26.
30, 34, 38, 42, 46, 50, 54, 58, 62,
And
59, 65.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yes, I want to see all of your work. So please write down the originals and show your work because I just cut your assignment in half. So let's get after it. Thanks, you guys.